Predator is a 1990 Din Corporation wood coaster located at Six Flags Darien Lake. It has a maximum height of 95 feet and a top speed of 50 miles an hour. Predator formerly was known as one of the worst coasters in the United States. It was rough, it had a boring layout, and it was genuinely unenjoyable, and it definitely had its fans. There were definitely a lot of people who liked it, but it also had a lot of people who didn't like it, which is why after the 2022 season, Darien Lake brought on GCI to start retrofitting parts of the track with their new Titan track. Now, Titan track is a steel sort of topper track that they will replace the track of old wooden coasters with to provide a smoother ride. GCI is not the first company to do a hybrid retrofitting track. RMC was the first to do it with their iBox track and their topper track, but GCI started somewhat after RMC. This was the first coaster to receive continuous retracking by GCI. The first part of the ride to receive retracking was the infamous death turn. This is the turn after the airtime hill, which is after the turnaround. And it was infamous for just being a terrible part of the ride. That was the first part to receive retracking. And after that, the turnaround got retracking as well as the two hills following the death turn. And then for the 2025 season, it received some minor retracking on the valley of the first drop in airtime hill, which is not Titan track, it is just some wood retracking that they did. And it also received retracking on the hill before the death turn after the turnaround. This retracking greatly improved the ride experience, turning one of the worst coasters into the park into one of the best. And I would like to make note that this review is for Predator in the 2025 season. It is most likely to receive more retracking for 2026 and 2027, as I'm assuming that they are planning on making this thing a full hybrid in the upcoming years. But as of 2025 is when I'm making this review. I might update it later down the line when they finish retracking the ride. So let's get into the ride experience. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to come out of the station, you're going to go into a little pre-lift, which is shockingly rough considering how slow you're going. You'll go up a lift. It's a short lift. It's, only 95 feet tall. You get up to the top, you do a slight turn. Then after that, you will drop down. It is a very short drop. You really get a decent amount of airtime in the back, but in the front, it's nothing too special. You go over your first airtime hill. This is like a flowjectory hill. It's like a mix of, floater and ejector airtime. But it is a pretty fun moment of the ride. You will then come down. You will pull up into your turnaround. This turnaround gives good airtime entering and exiting in both the front and back rows. And this has received the new Titan track, so it is perfectly smooth. After this, you will go down into another airtime hill. This airtime hill provides more floater/ejector airtime. This also has Titan track and it is also very smooth. After this, you will traverse into the death turn. Now, the death turn has a small airtime hill followed by a very poorly banked turnaround. This will provide some great airtime in the front as well as sustained laterals throughout the entire area of the ride. You will then go into some straight track before going over two smaller airtime hills. These deliver some pretty solid ejector airtime throughout the entire train. The entire train will receive pretty good ejector airtime, and this is on the new Titan track, so it is very, very smooth. After this, it will go into a small turn that kind of gets you around to start heading back around. This turn does not have the Titan track, and it is very, very rough. This is, the part of the ride where you really start to see why they retract so much of it. After this turn, there are a couple of bunny hills, which do provide some moderate, floater to ejector airtime. They are pretty fun, but obviously they are very, very shaky, and depending on where you sit, it can be very uncomfortable. After this, you will go into another turn before heading into the brakes. This turn is very shaky and slow, and it's honestly, I think this turn should be the next part that gets retracking because it is one of the worst moments on the ride before you finally hit the final brake run. For my overall thoughts, Predator is pretty infamous for how bad it is, but I would say, especially for the 2025 season, it is running very well. I enjoyed it a lot this season. The Titan track makes everything run a bit faster. Because the Titan track allows for a smoother and less shaky and less rough ride, that also decreases the amount of friction that the train will endure, thus increasing the momentum that the train has as it goes through the entire layout, making the ride run a lot faster. So much faster, in fact, that they had to add another trim brake at the end of the ride to get it to slow down properly. For the 2025 season, it has opened with a new purple train, which is a repainted train. They just repainted it purple, which is pretty cool. They originally ran with a blue train, and they always had a second train. They had a storage track. You can see it when you get out. There is a storage track that they had that had a blue train on it that was repainted to purple and has been put on the track for this season. The ride has been mostly fixed. You know, a lot of people were thinking they were going to end up RMCing this ride, and they didn't do that, unfortunately. But I mean, it does leave more room for potentially a ground-up RMC in the future, or just something else, because honestly, Predator is pretty good even without the RMC conversion. I think if they just completely finish the Titan track, it'll be a really solid ride. I do hope in the future they do run 2 trains. This ride can get quite a line, and the operations are painfully slow. This ride has some of the worst operations in the park. I once waited 8 minutes for them to dispatch a train, and with 1 train operations with a long line, waiting 8 minutes for them to send out 1 train is, in my opinion, a bit ridiculous. I don't know if this is a crew. I don't know if they're having issues with the ride. I don't know like what the deal is, but somebody needs to figure it out. This ride has jumped up a lot in my rankings. I would now rank it 2nd in the park. Last year I would have probably rated it still pretty low, but this year they did a lot of retrack work, which I think is, you know, it's very indicative that this park cares about their rides. You know, with the new trend coming for Superman, the new repaint for Superman next year, more Titan track for this in the future, this park is really shaping up to, you know, be a decent park. They seem to be putting a lot of time and effort into fixing up the park to make it, you know, more enjoyable for guests and to make it look nice. For my final score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.